Now I think we're live. I always start my lives off like this. And if you haven't seen this before, this is the typical way I go about it. Double checking in the group to see if it's actually there. I hope it is. And it doesn't look like it's live quite yet, but I do think it's started already. So guys, good to see you here. If anyone is actually looking live right now in the group and seeing this, please leave a little comment in the chat in the group so I know it is working. My name is Joel. We've probably met before, and today we're going to be talking about leads, how you should nurture them, why you should nurture them, and kind of the systems that I think you should have in place in order to do so in the best possible way. I'm going to share my screen and jump right into it. And by the end of this, I'm going to open up to any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk about or anything you want to add. And we also have a completely open Q&A, not just about the topic we just covered, but if you have any questions at all whatsoever, feel free to drop them. We'll answer the questions and we'll talk about all of that. And if you're watching a replay of this or the recording of this, also drop any questions, any comments you have into the chat below so we can actually get about to answer them. So let me share my screen and let's get started. There we are. Now I think you should see it. So the power of nurturing leads, what is that and what are we going to cover today? Well, we're covering the Awakend Entrepreneurs framework. You've seen this before, and if you haven't, welcome. But this is the framework we are working through. And today's topic lives in the fifth step, the conscious connection step. This is a step where we turn leads into booked calls and eventually into clients. And today it's all about that. So let's start with who we are and what we do. You have me in the middle. I'm Joel. I'm the business coach. I'm the person working with the marketing and sales and helping you do all of this. If you're stuck, if you have any questions in regards to that, I'm the person you should talk to. If you have any other issues where you want to deal with blockages, fear, confidence, doubts, getting unlocked and getting into the power and potential, you have the wonderful Olivia and the fabulous Kesley to help you out with that. The business things, that's my side, and the tech, that is also my side. So let's look at the promise for today. Imagine how it would feel for you to have clients coming to you, scheduling calls with you on autopilot without you having to pull anyone in or trying to hook them or trying to do any of these weird things people online is telling you to do. Imagine the feeling of you waking up, seeing you have 3 new scheduled calls today with people who really want to work with you. Shifting the idea from being someone who is selling to someone who is basically just handling orders. That's what we're going to talk about today. And the reason why most people don't have this type of system in place is because they're not following up enough with their leads. I'm guilty of this. You are probably guilty of this. And it's a problem. We need to follow up fast enough with leads. We can't wait 4 weeks. We can't let it fall between the cracks. The next category is even worse. People not following up at all, like this forgotten teddy bear somewhere. No one heard back. It was just crickets. They were interested. Crickets. I'm guilty. You are probably guilty. This is a big issue. And the third and final one is we don't want to spam people. We don't want to disrupt them. We don't want to be like pushy or salesy. So we kind of hang back a little bit and we don't really step into it. And like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take up the space. I don't want to send emails. All of these lies we're telling ourselves, and that is keeping us stuck. Literally every single time we follow up with people, we help them. They're looking for help. And we as businesses make money from it. We need to get rid of this idea of being pushy or spammy. Of course, we don't want to be pushy and spammy. We don't want to send a gazillion emails out to people who aren't interested, obviously. But we do want to make sure to actually reach out to people. So today, it's all about how to follow up with leads and prospects without that salesy, pushy side of things. And let me put my phone to silent. So you can promote your offers with absolute confidence, going from that scared person in the corner not trying to take up space to being like super confident, stepping out, talking about what you do, what you offer, how that works and how that comes together. That's what we're going to be talking about. So dive in. let's dive in. We're going to talk about this from 3 points of view. Why do we nurture? That's the first part. What do we say? And how do we structure it? And then we're going to talk about why we need automation for it. That's today's topics, frameworks. Anything we want to add to that. Drop comments, drop questions in the chat if you have any. I'm going to take a little swig of water. If you haven't heard of it, 75 Hard, awesome program, but you have to drink a gallon of water every day, meaning drink a lot of water. So, why do we nurture? Well, at the end of the day, as businesses, you can see at the bottom of the screen, it makes us money. If that feels wrong, you probably shouldn't be running a business. There's other ways to do this. But even if we run a nonprofit, we still need to make money to invest in the nonprofit, to do stuff, to deliver services, to reach people, to help people, to do more stuff, right? So we still need to bring in money. That is a big thing of this. But another thing of it is also to actually help people. Some hard data on this, 76% of all enrollment calls and all sales, it takes typically 7 touch points, 7 contacts with someone before you get to the actual sale. So if you're talking to someone somewhere online once and then don't close the deal, don't be surprised, because statistically it doesn't happen. It do happen sometimes, but we can't rely on that to build a sales process or an enrollment process. We just can't. People's attention span is 8.25 seconds. Just Google it, you'll see. That's the amount of time someone is focused. And if you're slipping away in focus right now, right here, let's keep going with this. But that's the reality. People's attention span is so short. We don't really pay attention at all. If you use YouTube as a way, you will see this in terms of video views. Typical drop-off point where the majority of people drop off is where they look and then go on. Just a couple of seconds. Attention span, so short. So we have to keep top of mind. And then obviously, people have been sold before. You've been sold before. I've been sold before. Everyone's been sold before. Everyone promises all these fantastic things, and it's going to be this and it's going to be that. If you combine that with one email or one touch point, not following up, there's not going to be any sales. There's not going to be any transformation. There's not going to be any change. It's not going to be anything real for the person to enjoy. It's just going to be that one and then nothing. So instead of doing those weird things, let's shift over to doing some real things. I think that is a much better way to do it. So this is actually a fantastic stat to look at. A happy customer is worth 100%. Again, I'm using the number here, not as the dollar amount, but if a happy customer, let's say a happy customer is worth $100, and highly engaged and connected client is worth $300. That's a 3 times increase on the value of the client in pure financial terms to count this. Meaning that we as businesses, we as people running businesses, selling services, coaching and offers, we should be focused on creating an engaged and connected audience. And the way we do that is by actually connecting with our audience. We have to connect with them. We have to talk to them. You are watching a way that we connect with you right now. So this connection with people, we have to build it up. And when we talk about nurture today, I'm going to be talking about it in email format. We can do this in lots and lots and lots of different ways. Still the exact same thing, but we have to follow up and we have to nurture people. Which brings me to the 56-42-1 rule. An amazing name for this rule. Probably should name this to something because it should be named something different. But the reality is 56% of all people will never buy. They're not looking to buy. They won't buy anything. The next group, 42% of all people, will buy in the future at some point. And the final group, the last 1%, they're ready to buy right now. So which people should we talk to? Type in the comments below. Which group here should we cater to? Which group should we talk to when we nurture? The answer is obviously everyone. I'm sorry, but the answer is obviously everyone. But jokes aside, in reality, we want to focus on the second one, the 42%, and the 1%, obviously. These are the people we really want to target and really want to focus on. And don't try to sell. Don't try to sell. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to build trust, build relationships, and focus on the last two groups. Really focus on those. Because these people over here, they're not looking for it. They're not looking for the service you offer. But these people might be. To give you an example of this, right now, I might not need a pair of socks, a new pair of socks, right? I'm right here. I will never buy socks. No, of course I'm going to buy socks. I'm here. I'm in the 42%. I will buy socks eventually. But right now, I don't need any. Let's say I'm going to the kitchen and I get stuck on a nail in the floor and I rip my entire sock to shreds. There's nothing left of it. All of a sudden, I moved from this group to this group. I need to get a new pair of socks. Imagine if you followed up with me. The first 6 emails, didn't look at them, didn't respond, didn't do anything. The 7th, it said, you need new socks? And I'm like, actually, I do. I just ripped my socks. I'm going to look at that. Oh, awesome deal. You get what I mean? They might not need the confidence coaching or the healing or whatever you're offering right now, but something happens? No, they do. So we need to make sure to look at this, not from the get rich overnight type way, but rather look at it from the perspective of, okay, over an extended period of time, how can I help? How can I serve? We switch over to that mindset and then follow up with people. This gets even better, but I'll get to that in a bit and I'll show you. Some of you might be sitting now wondering actually the last percent, because if we do the math on this, 56, 42, 1, only adds up to 99%. The last percent is actually people moving between the groups because nothing is static. People in the 56% will move into other groups. That's why I say we target all, but we focus on the two bottom groups. If you were sitting there wondering where the heck is the last percent, that's where it is. So don't worry about it. So that was the first part. That was when we talked about why we nurture. And I can bring up a bunch more evidence for why it makes sense, why you make more money as a company, as a business by nurturing. But I also want to say that in reality, when we're sitting in our offices, when I'm sitting here in my office, right now, there's no clients here. I can look under the desk. I can look behind the screen. There's no clients here. So I won't do anything good for anyone in this room right now. I can sit here with all my knowledge, all my skills, all my desires to help, everything that I have, but I won't help anyone. I won't support anyone. No one is going to get better. I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to do anything good for anyone because there's no one to help here. If I pick up my phone and I call someone, they might say, hey, I actually need help with that, which means I can help them. If I send an email to someone on my regular email, Gmail type thing, they might be open to it. If I send a DM to someone, that might be open to it. If I send a post or if I do a post on a social media platform somewhere, they might be open to it as well. But in reality, what it means is that we have to talk to people. We have to widen and really get that pipeline of people looking to get help, looking to get support. We need to get that super big with a lot of people coming in. A lot of people we can build with, interact with, talk to, and most of all, help and support. That is the goal of it, right? So we have to get that done in order to move forward. And we tend to forget about this, but I think it's an important piece. When we talk about business building, most of the time, people talk about how do we make the most money? And that's an important part. We're not going to forget about the money-making part because we need that. But I feel in my life, in my experience at least, a lot of the time, it wasn't necessarily about the making money part. It was about the helping people part. Feeling that I was important, that I could help someone forward, that I could do good for someone, not necessarily just collecting the paycheck and then doing good, but actually doing good over time. I want to add that to this because nurturing and following up means that we're helping someone. And we can't help everyone, and we can't help everyone for free. That's the reality. That's life. We have to accept that. But we can help them forward as much as we can. And at some point, they might go from being a passive reader, passive viewer, passive listener into someone saying, hey, I'm going to schedule with Jude. I'm going to schedule with Jane. I'm going to schedule with whoever. I'm going to talk to them. And they schedule with you. They sit down with you and they say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help? And you can say, of course I can. Here's how I do stuff. Here's how I help you provide the solution to it. And we get that opportunity. That's why we nurture. That makes us money. But more importantly, or at least equally as important, is that it makes us help others. We become important to other people, which I like to be. I like to be important. I like to help. I like to support. I like to help you grow. That feels good in me, and I do think it feels good for you as well. So then the obvious question becomes, well, what do we say? We can't just say buy stuff because no one's going to listen to it, right? So what do we say? I touched on it. The goal here should be, in my opinion, to show people you can help by actually helping them. Like really, and 100% for real. The goal is to help people by showing them you can help by actually helping them. So the reality is there is probably a lot more ways we can look at this, but I like to use this method. This talks about 5 different types of emails. And you have seen, let me actually jump back. All the way here. Because on screen right now, this is our process. This is the process you are going through. So when I talk about a process, you will soon have a process similar to this as well. Not with our stuff, obviously, but with your stuff. But this is the process. When I talk about the process, this is what I mean by it. I just want to put that into context. So jumping back, enjoying going through the slides like this. When I talk about a process email, that's what I talk about. Explaining how a process works. And hang on a second, because I need to cough, and I didn't felt like doing that in your ear. So when I talk about process email, I talk about your process. How is your process? How do you do? What do you do? And with the 9 steps, we could talk about the entire process. We can talk about a sub-process, something within it, a small piece of it, but literally talking about how does whatever you're offering and however that works, how does that process look and work? And we can elaborate on this, but that's one type of email. The next type of email we're talking about is the promise email. And that is basically how would life be once they've gotten to the place where they really want to be and achieve the thing they really want that you're helping them with. So let's say I want to lose 100 pounds of weight. The promise might be, imagine being outside running with the kids for the first time, maybe in years, and being able to run, climb, and do all of these things. Imagine how that would feel. Imagine how that would be for you as a dad. That is a promise email. How would that feel inside of you? And imagine life like that. The promise of change, the promise of transformation. That's another type of email, right? The next type of email is a ping email. These are basically designed to start an interaction, get a reply to an email, or have some type of communication back and forth, sparking a conversation. Again, we're connecting with people, so we want to have that as part of it. That could be an email as easy as, hey, Joe, hope you saw my last email. Did you have a chance to check out the thing I sent you? All the best, Joe. That's a ping email. It doesn't have to be more complex than that. The next one is the promotion, and we shouldn't be afraid to have promotions in emails. And a promotion doesn't have to be, here's my coffee cup, come buy this. It doesn't have to be buy my coaching program. A promotion can be, hey, go check out my new blog post, or hey, go schedule a call, or hey, go download this thing, or go buy my course, or whatever it is. Something we want them to do, take a action that moves them forward in the process of actually getting to become an enrolled client of yours. The fifth and final one is proof. It could be testimonials, and it could be other proof that you have. And it doesn't have to be from you. This is an important thing. It doesn't have to be from you. If you are, I often use the fitness as an example because I'm one of those people who do a lot of fitness stuff, right? So if you say you're a running coach, just for the sake of it, and you say, hey, you should be running up hills and do a lot of hill climb running because that's good for you, and you haven't done that with anyone, that is fine, because there's plenty of evidence out there suggesting that will help you with getting stronger, getting your resistance to fatigue up, and so on. There's plenty of other evidence. It doesn't have to be, I did this. It can be like, here's actual proof that other people underwater can't breathe without oxygen. That is also proof. So you get what I mean? You don't have to have done everything, but if you want to get a point across that it's important not to eat McDonald's 17 times a day because you'll get fat, you don't have to have done that to be able to show that this lifestyle you're living is probably not good. And changing into a different lifestyle is probably good. So showing people proof of transformation, or proof of change, or proof that what you're talking about works makes sense. A good example of this, earlier I showed you that 76% of all sales transactions take 7 times. That's the average. That's not correct for us. We have a different number, but that's the general average everywhere. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Like, you don't always have to have done this yourself or done that to show proof that what you're talking about works or makes sense, because there's plenty of other things out there, studies, examples of it that other people have done that you can use as a baseline and as a foundation for what you do and talk about, right? So those are the 5 types of emails. Process, how does your process work? Promise, how will life be once they achieve it? Ping, hey, let's talk, let's get a back and forth going. Promotion, go do this, buy this, download this, schedule this, do something. And then proof. Here's why this works. Here's how this came together. Here's what my client said. Here's what this person said. And all of these things, I would recommend adding storytelling to. Talk about stuff. Actually build an interesting email. Don't just write, buy stuff, here's the link, take care, bye. No one's going to like that. Write a story. And if you mess up with this, I messed up a few days ago. I sent out the same email 4 times during 3 days. This exact same emails. Still had several people schedule calls from that email. So that's fine. And also remember that when we send out emails, not everyone opens email. So let's look at an example series of this. And it doesn't have to be in this order. It can be in a lot of different orders, but here's just an example of this. Let's say they come in day 1 or day 2. We send them an email containing proof of why this works. The next day, we send them example process. Then we talk about a promise. Then we actually say, hey, go book a call or do this. Mix it up with a process, a ping, process, promise. This is just an example. I like to send an email a day. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sending an email a day and then mixing things up to make it interesting, to me, is important. But make sure to have them in mind, not you in mind. Have them in mind, the reader in mind, the potential client in mind. If they're struggling, if they're going through a change in life and let's say they downloaded an ebook or a cheat sheet or something you created for them, and they started using that, think about, when would it make sense to send what email to them? Because you might know that if they're doing this cheat sheet on how to handle grief, it might take 3 days and then this type of feeling comes up. why not send them on day 3 an email that connects to that feeling and that helps them deal with the feeling that might have come up? So think about this. What is actually helping them, and in what order and what time? And if you don't know, if you have no understanding, I don't know what would, just create it. And that's fine. And if you want us to look at this and help you structure it for you, I'm happy to do so. Just reach out and we'll take a look at it and personalize this for you. But here's just an example. Don't be afraid to go back and use these 5 email types and start writing emails. So the question then becomes, all right, now we have an email sequence. Now we have an idea. We have an understanding of, all right, I have different types of emails. The goal is to help them. The goal is to show them I can help them by actually helping them. So now what? Because we talked about already that we need to have touch points. We need to follow up with people. Then we get to the automation parts. Any questions, any comments, any ideas so far? If so, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments below. Now, let's jump over to the automation part. My little friend right over here. There is no time anymore for manual tasks. There can be. I'm not going to say there is literally no time, even though I wrote that. But we need to automate this. And we need to make sure in this digital world where we're everywhere, the person who downloads your thing or gets on your email list, they might be on the other side of the world. So there's no chance for you to like, oh, I'm going to be super proactive on my phone and sending them messages as they come in, because you won't be able to do so. That's not a possibility. We need to automate it. And within the first 15 minutes of someone coming on, downloading that cheat sheet, downloading that ebook, or downloading that thing, getting on your list basically, or buying that first entry-level product you have, they're the most interested. So we need to take full advantage of this. And we know that 90% are most likely to book a call within that time frame, meaning that we'll talk about this more when we talk about the funnel setup, how to get people on your list and become a lead. We'll talk more about this, but just know for now that time is important. They can't wait till morning when you can DM them back or send them back. That's too long of a time frame to do this at some type of scale. If you're just doing this to get one client in, you can probably get away with it. But reality is you want to automate it, right? So you need to have this set up and automated in a good way. And you need 3 things to make that work. First, you need to have a way to get them to become leads. And we'll do that in step 4 of the Awakend Entrepreneurs Hub process. That's where we create the lead magnet, we build the funnels, and we create the pages for that. For now, I'm assuming that we have that piece. If you don't have it, that's fine. You'll get there eventually. And if you need help with that as well, you let us know and we'll help you with it. The next thing you need to have is a way to deliver the thing. So if you have an opt-in page, I'll share with you. I'll show you instead. I think that's better. Here is an example in 2 secs. Here is an example of a opt-in page. In this case, we are giving away a guide that they can click on here, get the name, and get the email so we can follow. This is a basic. You might have gotten in through this one. This is a basic opt-in page. And that's the first thing we need, right? We need to have that lead magnet page where we get someone's email address. Because if we don't have someone's email address, we can't follow up with them via email, obviously. So we need someone's email address. And then we need a way for us to deliver the thing we just promised them. So in the example I gave you, we promised them a guide. We need a way to deliver that. We need an autoresponder, an email sender to do that. And then we need a long-term nurture sequence. We might want to add more things to this, but this is the basic stuff we need. And what do I mean by that? Well, the first phase of the delivery here starts with the delivery sequence. We need a way to deliver on the original value offer we gave them, aka the lead magnet. So if we promise them a guide, we need to send them the guide. And then we need to follow up with them rigorously every day for between 7 to 12 days in regards to that specific thing they downloaded. So if they downloaded a guide for how to become aware of their, abilities to sense other people's, whatever thing, or if they downloaded a guide on how to sell a course online, we want to follow up with them in 7 to 12 days around how to build a course online. We want to focus on that thing for the first week or week and a half. After that, we take them into the next type of nurture sequence, which is the long-term nurture sequence. And this is designed to help them create trust for your process, the way you do stuff, and the way you do this. And this can broaden the horizon a little bit and actually talk about other aspects of your business as well. So to give you an example of this, the first phase for us here, we might give people a guide, and we probably want to talk to them about how they should structure a different offer than selling time, and talking about why selling time is a bad idea. We'll talk about that for a week to a week and a half. Then we move them into a long-term nurture sequence where we still would talk about the offer creation, but we would also talk about the need to follow up with leads like we're doing now. We would talk about how to position themselves, how to build trust and authority, how to run ads, how to set up social media accounts that attracts people and post and do all of these things, how to handle enrollment calls, how to build funnels, and all of these things that we help you with. You see the difference? We're going from the very small piece in the first segment where we're talking about this small thing. You downloaded a guide or a cheat sheet or something for this small thing. We follow up with that for about a week to a week and a half. Then we expand it to everything that is inside of our process. We continue to nurture them like that for at least 30 days. Oops, I realized I'm behind here. Wonder if I've been that the entire time. Would be odd if that's the case. So we would follow up with them for at least 30 days. And if that feels like, you want me to write 37 emails minimum? Yeah, I want you to do that. But remember that you don't have to do that today. If you write an email today and we put that into an autoresponder, an email sequence, a workflow, then you have one more email. And then we build it out and we build it out. And eventually you end up with something we call a super system. And a super system is a machine, literally, that when people come in, at the very top of the machine up here, we take them through a long series of nurturing, or we help and support them the entire way, and we take them through that entire process. That takes around 3 months. So that's a super system. By the end of those 3 months, by the way, we put them right back in the beginning because they will not remember. That's the reality of it. They will not remember the first email they received more than 3 months ago. And chances are they did not even open it. Because most people won't do what we want them to do. They will do whatever happens. If they get an email and their wife or their husband calls them, they will go there, which is what it's supposed to be. But us as marketers, we need to remember that not everyone opens the emails we send. So it doesn't matter. It's okay. As long as the perspective of everything we do is help and support them. Because then it doesn't matter if they get put back in and they get an email they got 6 months ago today, and that's the first time they read it. That might be the most valuable thing this year to them. So when we create a super system like that takes them through a 3-month nurture, what happens is when we put money into ads and we get a lead and we're paying money, cold hard cash for that lead, it's not just that did they buy or not and then we're done with it. It is fine It can take 67 days for us as a company to turn that person into a client, and then we make money. That's okay, because we will follow up and we will nurture over time. And that's the way I think it has to be. I can't see any other way to it other than following up and helping and supporting. So let's back up a little bit. We've been going on for over 35 minutes now. Me babbling. Let's zoom out for a second. Today we talked about nurturing and the power of that, and that lives inside of the fifth step, the conscious connection step. In order to make that efficient and make that work in a good way, we need to have the prior four steps also, of course. And we need to have the sixth step before we start running ads, which we do over here. But today I wanted to talk about the importance of nurture, the importance of following up, because if we don't, that's going to be rough, right? If we don't follow up, people will not buy with you. They won't enroll with you. You won't have the opportunity to work with them. So we need to follow up. So with that said, any questions, any comments, anything you want to bring up? And that doesn't have to be in regards to what we're talking about right now. It can be in regards to anything else and anything other. What you will have when we're coming up on next week's coaching call, you will see the topic, obviously, for that call. I will also make sure to add the form that I forgot to add today, where you can add questions. I will have that form open, so you can at any point, at any day during the week, at any time during the day, add questions to that. And I will go through those questions from top to bottom. This section where we are right now will be the Q&A part, where I take questions from top to bottom and go through them. I will also make sure to answer any questions that are in the chat, because I will look at the screen and live stream at the same time. That was too hard, obviously. Any questions in the chat, because those questions, if you are live on the call and ask questions in the chat, they will have priority when I answer questions. So any questions in the chat, I will answer first, and then I will get to the list. So that's what I'm going to do till next week. I'm going to jump over, because sometimes there is a slight delay between my streaming software and Facebook. So I'm going to jump directly into the group and see if there's any question that has popped up there that I haven't noticed yet that we might want to answer. I don't see any there. So with that said, thank you so much for today's calls. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to add, drop it in the comments below. We're here to help. Don't feel like, no, I shouldn't ask that, or I shouldn't take up space or time or bother people with that. Definitely not. No one is more excited than me to be able to help you. So definitely ask questions, ask for help, ask for support. We're more than happy to help you out. So with that said, have a fantastic week. I look forward to hearing from you. Remember, calls tomorrow with Kesley, call Wednesday with Olivia. Remember, join us. We're going to have so much good in store for you. Let us know how we can help, and we'll see you next time. My friend, have a fantastic week. Take care. Bye.